till shade is gone,
till water is gone,
into the shadow with teeth bared,
screaming defiance with the last breath,
to spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
by my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shyle Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone. Welcome to A Dagger for Sightblinder, a Wheel of Time podcast. I think the intro actually already talked about that, so I don't need to talk about it further, but may you find shade this day. I don't think that's in the intro. So Sarah, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I haven't found shade yet, apparently.
No.
Or I wouldn't be stumbling so much in my little intro there.
I was gonna say that the may find shade is not in our intro.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's great that you said it.
It's good that I finally presented something that they hadn't heard yet.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
You did a really good job of recapping our intro in our intro.
That's good. That sounds meta of me. I feel like that's
meta. Okay.
All right. Well, now we know what you think about meta, or at least about my attempts at being meta. So
moving on.
All right. Well, I guess we shall move on. So, gosh, we're what, today is Tuesday. I know the days of the week still. That's good.
Yeah. Good job.
The lack of shade hasn't affected me that much. And we have another show coming up, episode 4, in 2 days, I guess, because realistically for us, Thursday is the release date.
Yeah, because that's when, they release it at midnight GMT time, so we can watch it on Thursday.
What does the T stand for in GMT?
Probably time.
Okay, just making sure you said GMT time.
I did. I said GMT.
Like, let's go. Would you be up after this? Would you be up to playing an RPG game?
Thank you for pointing out my foils.
Hey, you do the same for me, like just like a minute ago, so we're good.
I did.
Or even, you might say.
Okay, so clean slate moving forward. This seems like an appropriate time now that I can shamelessly plug for everybody to please rate and review us on the Podbean app, or on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Rating, reviews, follows, super helpful. And if you're not in our Discord server, we have a Discord server and it's tons of fun. If you are worried about being spoiled, all of the spoiler pages are blocked. You can't access them until you give yourself access to them. So you don't even have to worry about accidentally seeing anything. One of, I will say, Adam, your more genius ideas to do that.
Wow.
Yes.
I did not expect that high of praise after your disparaging comments previously.
I had to make up for it, so.
Well,
I did it, like I implemented it, but it was your idea.
There we go. There it is. I was waiting for it.
You're like,
Other shoe had to drop.
I was just gonna say that.
Boy, I stick handled that super well.
You did. Good job. That's not how you use stick handle, but okay.
Yeah, you and your Canadianisms. I'm still working on it. For those of you listening, I recently learned that there's an expression called stick handling, and yes. I'm still trying to internalize what exactly that might be or mean. So
it means you handle it, you take care of business, you have it under control.
Why don't you just say handle?
Just stick handle is much more fun.
Yeah, good.
it's a much more colorful way of expressing what you need done.
Yeah, let's add another syllable. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Moving on. Gosh. All right. So yeah, we've got a good show tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about the show. Like, we've already done a really long crawl through all of it, the reaction video of the 3 episodes, but we do have a couple more things. There's some news about the show we want to talk about as well, and then we'll talk about the book. And what chapters are we doing for the book today?
24 and 25.
Okay, and this is still, everyone's separated still, right? Like,
everyone's still separated, yes.
Yeah, so we get to see Matt and Rand and Tom.
And then Perrin and Egwene and Elias.
Nice.
So no Moraine, no Nynaeve.
Okay, cool. And one thing I really like about this actually is that we're going to be talking about, like, this is all stuff that's happening in the show right now. Like, it just happened to coincide with the show and where we are in the books. And so it's actually, it'll be cool to kind of compare and contrast a little of that.
Yeah, it'll work really well. So cool.
That'll be pretty neat.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
We'll see if we stick to it.
We will. So I think we can move to this show discussion. So I think for spoilers, in terms of spoilers, we're going to be talking about, of course, we'll be referencing all of episodes 1, 2, and 3 that have been out. And then there's a very slight spoiler about a character who is going to enter episode 4. Now, it's someone who you would be expecting if you'd read the books or if you'd been paying attention to the casting news, but it is still slightly spoiler-ish, and then we'll allude to a spoiler that exists, but we won't actually dive into it. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, cool. So, and we won't, I mean, we can't just totally ignore the book, but we won't be going super far into the book spoilers either. Once we get to the book section, we'll talk about what spoilers you can expect there.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, or we'll forget, so that'll be good.
Which is like, that's likely.
The good news is we won't realize it. Like, we won't know that we've done it, so we won't feel bad.
We've done one spoiler warning, so we're good, I think.
Yeah.
And chapters 24 and 25 of Eye of the World.
Yeah, we're pretty good about not spoiling things.
Yeah.
And Sarah's in book 3 now, guys, if you can believe it.
I am in book 3. Holy. I told you I would finish it. Last week I said, I was like, I'm going to finish it.
I know. We haven't even talked about what your thoughts are on it. We've talked about all the other things in the whole world, but we haven't talked about that.
I know. I feel like I can't tell. I mean, I feel like I want to tell you my thoughts, but I also feel like I need to save them.
I know. It's so awkward because we talk about them in person before the show, and then it's like, we don't even remember to talk about them on the show. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I
still want to know, though.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you after.
Sounds good. Okay.
Where do you want to start with the show news? Like, do we want to just work our way down this list?
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, so there's an interesting thing. The big news, the big controversy that everyone just thinks is the dumbest thing, or the people who are apologetically, like, they're saying like, oh no, it's okay, like we're fine with it. Like, I feel like this, the thing that everyone's getting stuck on though is Perrin's wife, and like, because in the books he doesn't have one at this point. And there's actually a really interesting part in there's an interesting insight someone had from on our Discord. Do you want to take this? And it's actually is slight spoilers from a different book. I won't even tell you which book, but
right. Do you have it pulled up? I can pull it up if not.
I don't have it pulled up. I can if you need me to.
Oh no.
If you're not capable of something that simple.
Rude.
Well, I was just offering.
You were. Okay, so they pulled. So what book is this from? Book 4?
Okay, I said I wasn't going to say what book, but yes, it's book 4.
Sorry. Book 4. It's right there. It's there. I know. This isn't too spoilery.
No, it's pretty minor.
It's minor, but I do actually enjoy that they did it this way for the show. So book 4, apparently Perrin goes back to Two Rivers. Spoiler.
Yes, that's a pretty big spoiler.
Sorry, spoiler. And Layla, who is his wife in the show, where he's not married in the books, he runs into her, and I guess she is now married with kids. It seems like that. Anyway, and it says that he had dreamt of marrying her, and she had returned the feeling somewhat. So it sounds like she was a past love interest of his.
Yeah. So he sees her and he's like, oh, I could have ended up with her. Interesting. Yeah. And then in the show, he ends up actually doing it.
Yeah, actually. Exactly. Which I find to be very clever of them to make it her. I obviously don't know anything about in the books if that is important that it's her, but right. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a cool way so they want, I don't know, they've defended themselves on making her, making her or him marry her or whatever. And at the end of the day, I guess I'm okay with it. The thing I keep thinking of is, do I want an exact clone of the show or of the book, right, but just like super hyper condensed because they can't possibly fit everything into the show from the book? Or do I want a different weaving of the story? Like, everything's happened in the Wheel of Time before, right? Like, why can't it be a little bit different this time?
Right.
Like, it's almost the nature of the Wheel of Time. Like, there's all the ages that have come to pass, an age long spent or whatever, long past. Like, it kind of alludes to the fact there's a ton of different things in the text that show like it's all happened several times, tons of times. And, people are like, I've faced you 100 times, 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be a different weaving of the same story. I think if I can frame it that way mentally, then I can be okay with the show being significantly different than the books even.
Right. Like if the major plot points and major factors are the same, do the minute details matter as much to you if they are the same or slightly different?
Right. You have to think that a lot of the people who grew up with this story and have just like internalized, they love it, they think it's so cool, and then they watch it, and I mean, Perrin is in a way he's like a friend, right? I mean, right. Like you spend so many hours reading about him and you spend all that time in his head, so it's like you feel like you know him, and then they're like, oh, by the way, like this character who was never married to start with is married now. Mm-hmm. Like, it's jarring, and that I think that could be that could cause some, I mean, it definitely did cause some dissonance with me. I'm guessing how much did it affect you, because you haven't gotten as far in the books?
I thought so. To me, it was just weird that he was married, because in the books he comes across as this character, as this guy who doesn't really shine in like the dating area of his life, so it just felt weird that out of the 3 guys he would be the one that would be married.
That's fair.
And it just, like, I didn't really see it fit. I wouldn't say it necessarily jarred me. I just thought it was weird. And then, we've had discussions about it, and like there's been discussion on our Discord server, and we've read articles about why they chose to do this. And I think their thought process and in their reasoning why they did this actually makes sense. which is, I mean, it sounds like they did this as a way, because Perrin is such an internal, monologue type character, which you can't really portray easily on screen. It's a lot more difficult to portray that on screen, other than, having him basically sit there and just the actor narrate his own thoughts pretty much.
Which is extremely difficult to do in a non-cheesy way.
Totally. I can think of one show that does it really well.
Yeah.
And
so there I was in the midst of it. It's so difficult to do.
It's so difficult to do. And because he is like this really quiet character naturally, in the books, it's easy to get inside his head when we have his point of view chapters, and we're not going to be able to do that in the show. So having him be married to Layla is just a narrative device. And I feel bad to break it, to make, the character of Layla break her down to that simplistic term, but she is a narrative device. She is there so that Perrin can, spoiler if you still have not seen episode 1, Perrin can, inadvertently, accidentally kill her. And
accidentally
kill her.
He had an accident.
But she is there so that we can now have this side of Perrin who eventually comes out to hate his axe, to hate these tools. Like that is the inciting force for him.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I there's something in me that just still rebels against it, but
totally.
that's just the purist in me, that I think there will always be some part of me that doesn't like that. And just like there will be some part of me that doesn't like a lot of different things that they choose that are perfectly reasonable. I also, I mean, just on a little bit of a darker level, I just thought it was funny. Like they created like this situation that all of us feel uncomfortable with, but they were able to find a resolution to it by the end of the episode.
I mean,
so, they were able to.
You and I have said this, like we both thought immediately when we saw her and realized that Perrin was married, we were both like, well, she's gonna die.
Right. Well, and they picked the right character, because it's not like Abel Cawthon that, like, right. I've heard a few people now say that they didn't like the way they did Abel dirty, and it makes me sad. So like her, I have no attachment to her, and we can just move on. We're going to be seeing repercussions to that the whole rest of this season, at least. But yeah, so him being married, we can move on. I really don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal. It's one of those things that just immediately jumps out at you. It's like the first episode, there was just a barrage of things that set expectations in a way that I was not a huge fan of. Like I told you about there's rumors of for Taviran.
Yeah.
And that's still just that. And then just a couple scenes later, Perrin's like, I'm married. Like, yeah, it's could be a challenge if you've already read the books, and but I think I'm willing to keep giving it a try, though, for sure. I'm excited to see the next episode.
And I mean, just like to jump off of that, you and I have both read the books. I mean, obviously you've read the entire series and I haven't, but I have a little bit of knowledge going into the first episode. I've talked to a couple of people who have never read the books and watched the first episode, and they thought the first episode was completely just chaos and confusion. They had no idea what was going on, could not follow it.
Interesting.
Which I think ties into also why they released, maybe 3 episodes in one day, because you are able to kind of be like, well, is it going to make more sense as you move forward? Because the one thing that was consistent was the first episode. You kind of don't know what's going on. Everything seems fine. And then there's carnage everywhere. and you have no idea why.
Right. Well, that does make sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Like we
know why.
we knew what to expect, but yeah, that's a great point. I think that's actually really good. I know that Brandon Sanderson, the guy who finished this series and is an extremely, like, he's known for his ridiculously long and pretty awesome, in my opinion, books. But he had advised them to make the first episode a 2-hour long episode and to go 10 total episodes for the season. And clearly they didn't go that route. I think there's 8 episodes and obviously only a 1-hour initial one. But yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, maybe that was their replacement, that they were like, okay, well, we're not doing a 2-hour starting episode, but we are going to do 3 right at the first, so that in a way it's like a 3-hour movie, like a 3-hour intro.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
It's pretty cool. So the next item on here is the tiny spoiler about the character that's going to be showing up. And there's been an image released of the next episode of this character, Loyal, who is an Ogier. Is a different species than the humans. And you know, he, in the books, they meet him in Camelin. I don't think they're going to go to Camelin this season, though, so they're gonna have to find a different way to find him. And the image of him looks real dumb.
It's so bad.
It's a mess. If that's actually, like, if they actually use that screen capture, I don't know. I've been, honestly, so some of the plot elements and, you know, so like making the show super dark on some levels, at least, like some of those things I could take exception with, I can quibble with, but I have not had any issues with like the setting, like the stage, I don't know all the terms for film stuff. You're better at that, but you know all the things. You know all the things.
No, all the things. Thanks.
Yeah, but like, I haven't had an issue with the visual aspect of this show. And
right,
if he looks as dumb as he does, like, I almost can't believe it.
I said this to you earlier today. I was like, he looks like a circus ringleader. That is my immediate first thought, was I should be at the circus. Like, that's what he looks like to me. And he's not tall, like at all. Like, you can do so much. Even you do not need a tall actor to make someone look tall on screen. There's so many tricks you can do with cameras and camera work and camera angles and props, like all of these things that you can fake it.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings did that like 20 years ago.
Yeah, like you can fake that. And he, in this image, which I think is a actual promotional PR image, because it was kind of cut off in the one you and I saw, but you can see that it says like new episodes at the bottom, like a banner type thing. And he's not tall. Like, if you actually look at the placement of the characters, they've brought him to the front a little bit, which means he should be extreme, like much like the characters in the background are shorter. And Perrin is almost the same height as him. Like he's not the height of an Ogier.
Yeah, it's pure madness. The Ogier. So an Ogier is, I always just imagine them as so they're like good, peace-loving folks. Like, they're the only other type of creature like that, but they're like ogres, basically. Yeah. Like, they're what nice ogres would look like. They're bigger than humans, and you know, you guys can find out all their eccentricities and stuff, but for the most part, they should, the biggest part, and that wasn't even intended, but they should be big. They should absolutely be large. And this one is just a dude with messy hair. It's really distracting.
There is, and I remember this, there is a scene in the first book where Rand is on, and like, spoiler, because this is not in our chapter discussion. So I can't even remember which chapter this is in. And it's such a mild thing. But Rand is on his horse. He's on Bella. And Loyal is standing beside them. And they describe Rand as like just barely coming up to Loyal's shoulder, even with him being on the top of the horse already.
Yeah,
he's tall.
Well, so here's the thing that I almost disbelieve it, frankly, because they've put so much effort into making things look more realistic. Like the Trollocs, I mean, some people don't like the way they look or whatever, but they obviously put a lot of effort into making them look like Trollocs, like we would expect. Like they're a reasonable approximation of what we would expect. And the Murdrell and all the different other characters, like the White Cloaks, have excellent costuming, even though they're slightly different than what I would have thought. Everyone they've put a lot of detail and attention to detail into this, and to see him looking this incredibly off. Like they clearly had the money to do it, right? And if they just chose to like make him look like a weird uncle, and that's like just maybe because it's kind of a distant photo, like maybe the thing is like his face looks super like maybe there's an acceptable explanation and still to have that picture be real. Upon further inspection, but the one that we saw does not inspire confidence in the slightest.
No. So my only other thought is like maybe that's not actually him, but I am thinking it is.
Oh, that's a good point. It could be
somebody else.
Some random. Yeah, I mean, like we both saw the picture in the first place on a YouTube video that someone had, and that person had said like, oh yeah, this is going to be Loyal, like look at that, this is his actor that's been cast and everything, but they're also not the sole arbiter of truth either. So
yeah, I mean, like maybe that's who that actor was originally cast to play, and then something happened and they are using his scene and making it a different character. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I honestly, I've so far have they've done a good job of at least of the setting, like
totally. I don't have complaints.
So let's complain. We'll do a reaction cast and everything in a couple days, which by the way, folks, is going to be a little bit ghetto because we're both going to be out of town, so we're going to be using less than perfect recording equipment.
Yeah, bear with us, please.
Yes, but we'll still do it. We'll still release it. Podcast will come out first, and then the video a day or two later. But yeah, we'll talk about him then. We'll see if our dire predictions have come to pass.
Yeah, cool. So the next little bit tidbit, not really spoiler because I feel like this is known. Matt.
Yeah, a talking point, perhaps.
A talking point about Matt. Matt is so good in the show. So good.
Yeah, the actor's been killing it.
Yeah, he is. I remember when I was reading the first book, I didn't even like when Matt was first introduced. I was like, okay, cool. Like this random dude, didn't even like bat an eye about him and realize that he might be important until later on. He was just like a little bit of a background character. He shines so quickly. Like his personality just comes out right away. Like the actor does such a good job with him, and it's sad.
It is. It's tragic, honestly, because he's been recast for whatever reason. I don't think there's been an official explanation. Like they've announced it and everything, but like this character, we have 5 more episodes with him, and then we'll still have Matt potentially, but we will, because I mean that's a pretty open spoiler. He'll be in season 2 in some capacity, but we'll have a different actor for him. And it's just sad because to me, he's been my favorite so far. Like I've really enjoyed his character the most through 3 seasons, which in the books, I try to like it. He's one of my favorite characters in the book series, but I don't really like him in the first few. the first book. I'm just like, you know what? Let's just get through this. We'll like him better later.
This will get better.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we don't know. There's no details out there about why he was recast and what the actual deal is. But season 2, Matt, he's got big shoes to fill already. Like just after these first 3 episodes, I'm like, oh, I really hope you can do Matt justice the same way.
I hope so. Yeah, the recast is. I was secretly hoping that character just wasn't that good and that he had been like kind of pushed out. But like after his after his performance in the first 3 episodes, like I'm left with some serious remorse right now.
Yeah.
My remorse is extremely serious.
Yeah, it is. He just did such a good job. So
he does.
Yeah. And then like just a tiny little other spoiler, maybe.
Like a spoiler a spoiler exists, perhaps.
Yeah, for the next episode, potentially.
Yeah. So the out there, and there are links if you guys care to find them. If you want to spend, it's not that tough to find, but there were spoiled things about this coming episode about plot points. So if you really want all the plot points for episode 4, if you just can't wait, you love to get spoiled, etc., you can find them on some YouTube videos. They have the full recap that was screen captured, and then I don't know if it's taken down already or what, but like it gives the blow for blow on everything. Like it says first this happens, then this happens, then this happens, all the way to the end of the episode. And I didn't really care. Like it was all stuff that I had kind of speculated about anyways, but I don't know. I'd rather not spoil it for you guys, frankly.
Yeah. So they're out there. We don't need to get into the details.
No.
But
we're fine.
We're fine.
Everything's fine here. Situation normal.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you would spoil it.
We don't need to. Yeah, it's just an interesting thing. Like, why do they even?
Yeah, like why would you?
Yeah,
if you're gonna give somebody like a critic or somebody access to like a screener copy, you would think they'd be under an NDA not to post it until the day it's aired.
Right. And yeah, so I don't know what's going on there, but something's going on, and hopefully it doesn't keep happening. I mean, this episode I don't care about spoilers, but like once we get to episode 7 and 8, if they've changed anything, which I would imagine there's going to be at least a couple substantial changes, I would rather find out by watching.
Right. Yeah, you don't want to find out in a YouTube video.
Right, you never know. Someone might be getting sued right now. We just don't know about it.
That's true. Also likely.
we can hope so.
We are nice people. Oh man.
We're hoping that the mean people who spoiled things for everyone are being brought to justice.
Nice spin.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A good spin.
Yeah. You did good. You did good, kid. All right. Do you want to talk about the book? Is there any other TV show news?
I don't think so.
We forgot.
We talked about this show so extensively on our reaction video. I'm excited to see what happens, where they bring it. Honestly, so just as an overall thing, I think it was great they did 3 episodes.
Yeah.
I am so glad they didn't do all 8 at once.
Oh man, that would have been a lot.
It would have been too much. I barely wrapped my head around 3.
It's been less than a week and I've been like, I should probably rewatch those 3 and refresh what happened.
Yeah, maybe like fast forward the White Cloak part.
Yeah, We don't need to watch that again.
Yeah, disturbing. But just as a general note, like, I am so glad that they didn't release all of them at once, because by now I'd have watched all of them. And I mean, even as a content creator, imagine the amount of pressure we would have to break down all the episodes at once. Like,
yeah,
the whole world would explode. Like, our lives could be miserable, or we would just wouldn't do it. And one way or another, I like this episodic, just like once a week thing. So we get a really solid push into the series, and then we could just stop. Like, I hope they do that with like other shows moving forward, like Disney shows that are in. Like, I don't mind just having one episode a week, but I do like having a kind of a bigger push at the very start.
Right.
I don't know.
Get you hooked, and then just have a weekly release after that.
No. So yeah. Just a general observation, but we could talk about the book now.
Just had to get the last word in.
That was you just now trying to do that.
So the book. Okay, so still in Eye of the World recapping, which is totally cool. Chapters 24 and 25. I mean, these are interesting. I feel like I had a lot of insights in both of these chapters into a couple of characters, but maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong. So,
I mean, I can't. If they're an insight, then they're probably not wrong, but
all right.
Maybe they're dumb. We'll see.
Well, don't tell me if I'm dumb. It's rude.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, me and the audience will see.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thanks.
No pressure.
No pressure.
To be fair, though, I don't anticipate them being bad.
Thanks.
Or dumb.
Thanks for that. Okay, so in case you didn't know, at the end of chapter 3, like, we leave off, everyone is separated where we left off. Perrin is basically just, learning that he is a wolf brother. Him and Egwene are with Elias and the wolves. And that's where we've left off. So chapter 24, Flight Down the Arenal, is we go back to Rand, Matt, and Tom, because they have left and have gotten on this boat. They're on Captain Domon's boat, the Spray.
Yes. So one thing I do want to point out, that this is kind of, I don't know, this is a point that they make later on, but I don't think I'll remember to get back to it. It's a fairly minor point, but at some point they point out that the 3 boys are ta'veren, and I've made a big deal about it in the show, that there's rumors of ta'veren is such a dumb thing, but in the books they don't find out that they're ta'veren until a little later. Like, I think it's in this book, in fact, that they find out. But one of the things about ta'veren is the pattern weaves itself around them. And so if there's something that they need, then the pattern a lot of times will provide it. And so the fact that they're like outside of Shadar Logoth and Baal Doman and his Spray, is that what the boat's called? Yeah, like, it just happens to be within writing distance of Shadar Logoth, and he wasn't even intending to be that close to it. He just like stopped. This is a good example of them showing ta'veren without hitting us on the nose with it. Like, they don't say, oh, look at this, a random boat is just beached on the side of the river, like on this miles and miles and miles and miles long river. It just happens to be right in the writing path, right as they're running away from trying to escape Trollocs. Like, this is an example of ta'veren at work.
Okay. I didn't even know that. So.
Right. Well, it's the sort of thing that if you read the whole series and then you just kind of start looking for these ta'veren events, and honestly, a lot of times Robert Jordan does just say, oh yeah, here's something ta'veren, here's another ta'veren thing. But this is an example of, things working out too well. And it's actually a great plot device in a lot of ways, because how many times in a novel you just roll your eyes like, oh really, like the old woman just happens to drop a flower just right now to help the main character, whatever.
It's a really smart way of like making things happen that it doesn't matter if it's believable or not because it's Tarviran.
Yeah. Hashtag Taviran.
Oh man, I like that though. That's a nice little loophole.
Right.
So.
Well, because you know that a series like this is gonna have these weird little like discrepancies. You're like, you needed this person to meet this person at this time, like, but like, you know, instead of it being distracting, it's, oh, that's how it's actually supposed to happen. Like,
right.
if it didn't happen that way, that would actually be a negative thing.
Right. Yeah, no, that's really smart. So I like that.
Cool.
So they are on this conveniently placed boat.
They are.
Yeah. And this is another instance. So they're on there with Tom. Tom's teaching them how to juggle. He's teaching them songs, like all this kind of stuff. But this is another instance where Rand is just acting really, really stupid. Like he's acting foolish. There's one point during this chapter where he climbs the mast of the boat and he doesn't even realize he's done it. Like he doesn't realize that he is at the top of this mast until Tom gets up there and drags him down.
Right. You have this kind of frustrating sequence of like, it's describing things from Rand's eyes. Mm-hmm. And yet it's like, it's like he's seeing it through someone else's eyes. Like someone else is kind of like,
it's like an out of body experience.
It's like if Matt was in his body or something like that.
Totally.
You know, yeah, like an out of, like he's just experiencing this, and then he finally, like, after the whole crew is so distracted, and he like jumps down, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, are you crazy? Do you have a death wish?" And he like kind of snaps out of it. He's like, "What have I done? Like, oh my gosh, what happened?"
Yeah, it's almost like he like blocked out, not necessarily blocked out, but he wasn't aware of his own actions while he was doing it.
Right. And this is the second instance of the thing. I still don't want to like quite spoil the main significance of this, but like it'll happen eventually in this book, but this is another instance of him acting strangely as a consequence of previous actions. We can just say that.
Right.
And the people in the know, the people who have read this or, you know, who finished the book can know that. But it's the same thing as what happened in Bayerlawn, where he was taunting the White Cloaks.
Exactly. So, which is the note that I made on this. The other thing that I found interesting in this chapter was Matt's actions and Matt's personality here. Matt is so frustrating to me in this chapter, just for the sake of, you know, they're going down the river, they're on their way to Arenell, and he sees this like tower in the distance, and like just like off the shore, like in the distance, and he just somehow knows that there's treasure in this tower and he wants to go to it. And he's like,
which like, by the way, folks, this is I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
Just want to point out this tower is extremely significant later in the series, but like you see it and they call it the Tower of Genji, and then it disappears and you don't see it for several books. And I won't tell you to whom it's important, but it's a very interesting thing. Like it just doesn't come up, and then it's suddenly like a big plot point at one point. But continue. Matt is annoying. He sees treasure.
Yeah, and
or thinks like treasure.
He thinks there's treasure there. He wants to go treasure hunting. He's so fixated on this, and this entire time I'm like, did you not learn anything from what just happened in Shadar Logoth? Like you just have no consciousness of your actions having consequences, like just completely oblivious to it, did not learn from it at all, don't care.
I mean, I I think it's a very human thing though too. You're right. He's annoying. It is obnoxious as hell. So like no excuses for him. I do think that in some ways it makes him more real because that it's exactly like someone who is like completely addicted to some substance or whatever, and then
Right.
they go and judge other people who are using as well. They're like, look at that meth head, like.
So Matt's a meth head.
Well, but I mean, it's a similar like this hypocritical judgment of, oh man, like they don't understand their actions. They don't understand how ridiculous it sounds to an outsider.
Right. Which, okay, fine, but it is unbelievably frustrating to read.
Sure. Oh yeah, I'll give you that. Like I think he's. We'll see who the most annoying character is. There's just one other candidate for most annoying character, which we'll talk about later. But he is absolutely making a bid for most annoying character.
Right.
We could call it Mac for the this episode's Mac.
Yeah. So he's annoying. This is also though, so no one knows that Matt took that dagger. And now Rand finds out that Matt has a dagger. That this is the chapter where he learns that Matt's got it. And Matt is, first of all, being annoying about this treasure thing, but now he's also being really paranoid. He doesn't want anyone to know he has it. Once Rand knows, he doesn't want anyone to question him on it. And he's telling Rand that like no one can be trusted. Like absolutely no one can be trusted. And this is where you really start to see the dagger like affect Matt, I think, or start to affect Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. So you start seeing issues with it, and in the book, it's much more clear that what he did was very foolish.
Yeah,
like in the show, I feel like it doesn't. They don't really stress it that much. They're just
no.
Lan offhandedly says, "Don't do this," and then he does it anyways. But no one even cared. Like he just,
Well, and in the show, and I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot to mention this in our recap. But he takes it. It's this off the cuff thing, and then later on, he does start to have this attitude, and we know that he's acting this way because of the dagger, but realistically, like if you're watching it, you're probably just like, you know what, this guy has been running for his life, running from monsters, having these weird dreams, all this kind of stuff is going on, has no idea what he's doing. Of course he's like gonna be on edge and giving his buddy attitude. Like you're not gonna put two and two together because it's just completely glazed over in the show so far.
Yeah, it is. You're right. I think we'll start seeing it in the show, but we have to. If they don't, it'll be a mistake on their end, probably.
We're seeing his attitude for sure. It's just not directly correlated yet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, it's hard to say, anyways, because he already had kind of a bad attitude in the show.
I mean, fair.
Like right now, they've kind of hinted at it, but. One thing I do want to point out, and we haven't even talked about it at all in the book recap at all, but so Tom left the Two Rivers with them, and so like the whole time Lan has been giving them kind of weapons training, and then Tom has also been training them just a little bit in like Gleeman things. Like he's been showing Matt how to juggle, and I don't know if he was showing Rand how, like he was showing them how to juggle at least. And then once they get on the boat, though, the story they tell Bail Doman, who's the pilot, and Bail Doman is actually important at other points in this series. So, it's important to note his name, but he tells Bail Doman, well, I'm a Gleeman and these are my two apprentices. And then Matt gets annoyed at Tom. He's like, why are you making me do all this stuff? And Tom's like, I don't know how to pretend to train someone, boy. Like, I either train them or like I just leave them alone. And so you're going to actually get an education. And so they're both learning like parts of a Gleeman's trade while they're on this boat.
Yes. And I mean, and this is all really smart of Tom to do too, because one, it's a cover story, so right away you're set. But then two, in the event that they do get separated, Rand and Matt would be able to go from town to town and be able to get by. They would be able to get food. They'd be able to stay at an inn because they would be able to take these skills that they've learned and utilize them.
Yeah,
versus
it's a trade, really.
Exactly, like versus just not. And what? Then you're gonna run out. How are you gonna get money? You're gonna run out of money. Like, what do you do now? So it's really smart just on multiple levels.
Yeah, I think it's really good, and it shows his quality too. Like he's actually, he's not just a poser. He doesn't just pretend to help people. He's like, you know what, I'm essentially I'm their chaperone, or they're the guy who's going to help them right now, because they don't know anything. A couple of country bumpkins don't know anything, and so, but I know I'm wise, in the world, or whatever, wise in the ways of the world. Some good alliteration there, but he's able to, he's like, look, I'm going to take you under my wing, and you complaining about me helping you is just kind of dumb of you.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and they're learning. He's actually, and that's actually the reason that Tom was able to convince the captain not to just like kick him off the boat after Rand's little episode on the top of the mast.
Right.
He's able to be like, it was an exercise. It was an ill-advised exercise in balance that I was having him do.
Right. Exactly. So Tom is, he is very street smart.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer wise in the ways of the world.
Okay. Wise in the ways of the world,
right.
Or street smart.
Right. Well, I prefer mine because of reasons.
That's fine. You're gonna have it your way.
You're like, I personally wouldn't choose that.
That's a lot of extra syllables.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, that's pretty much chapter 24.
All right, yeah, so they're still on the boat. Woo.
They're still on the boat. They haven't actually gotten off the boat.
We still don't know what their journey is all about.
No. We don't. That was very poser Canadian of you.
When puns go sideways and turn you into a Canadian.
It'll happen. Yeah, so next chapter is Perrin and Egwene and Elias, my favorite.
Your fave, huh?
My fave. So this chapter 25 is called The Traveling People, which is pretty much on par with where, like you said, where we are in the show now, at least with Perrin and Egwene's character. So yeah, they decide they're gonna head to Caemlyn. Elias is gonna go with them. The wolves are gonna go with them. This is all, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe this is from Perrin's point of view again.
Yeah, I think as long as they're separated from anyone, I think that it's just all from Perrin.
Yeah, because we get a little bit more insight into him, and his connection with the wolves and how he's handling it, whether he's accepted it or still in denial and all of this fun stuff.
Right.
But anyway, they end up coming across the traveling people. So we pretty much almost exactly how it happens in the show.
Right, except Elias is not in the show so far, at least.
Right, which is weird, because in the book, that they come across the traveling people, and Elias is the one who kind of repeats this verse to them, this cadence.
Right, they have this ritual greeting, I guess is what you might call it.
Yeah, thank you. and he's the one that, kind of gets them in, so to speak. It's, a lot, you learn quickly that Elias knows how to maneuver around these people and what to say.
He's had past dealings with them.
Exactly. So yeah, they're with them. And then we meet Rain, we meet his wife Isla, who were both in the show, and we also meet Aram, who was also in the show, and he's a piece of work, in my opinion.
Well, Aram is such a he's a very interesting. I don't know if interesting is the right word. He's obnoxious. Like he is outrageously hitting on Egwene from the very start,
nonstop.
And Perrin makes the observation. He's like, he's almost too good looking to be a man, kind of thing. Like he's so pretty or whatever. Which I don't know what. So when you hear that description, would you apply that description to Aram in the show?
No.
Yeah, he seems pretty rough around the edges in the show. Like he seems...
and he also seems like in the show so far, he seems like he doesn't take anything seriously. Like he's not taking himself seriously. He doesn't really take the lifestyle seriously. Like he just seems to be a go with the flow type dude so far.
Right. And in this, he seems like overly cocky. And
yes, this is just he is a alpha male in this.
Sure. Which is an interesting thing, because you would think that as Perrin is kind of like with this burgeoning wolf brother, you'd think that he'd be an alpha male as well. But Perrin, despite his misgivings, Egwene just lets Aram charm her out of their campfire. That sounded like charm her out of her clothes, which that didn't happen. But like he's clearly like angling for that. Like they make it pretty obvious that he's interested in more than her witty dialogue.
Right. He is, and maybe alpha male is the wrong term, but he is, quote unquote, peacocking around Egwene. Like he is doing everything to get her attention, charm her, all of this stuff. And it's a lot. Like I did not like him reading the chapters. Like, this guy's got to go. And then also I just didn't like Egwene.
Right. Well, she's just like, oh, I'll just go with it. And part of that is her reacting to Perrin's dislike of him. Right. And like Perrin's like, Egwene, don't go with him. And she's like, well, now I'm gonna go because screw you, Perrin. Right.
Tell her not to do something and she'll do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a mark of immaturity, really. Like she's like, I'll make my own decisions. Not I'll just go I'll go the exact opposite of what you're doing. Right. And so the question, I guess, would be, what if we saw Aram from someone else's perspective, from not like, because Perrin immediately mistrusts him, and it helps us mistrust him immediately as well.
Right.
What if we saw him from Egwene's perspective?
That's interesting. I feel like Egwene's perspective would be more of her internal, I don't want to say struggle, but like, reading the room, so to speak, and seeing how Perrin's reacting and seeing what Aram's doing, and then kind of like bouncing off of that and then making her decision.
Sure. Well, you have to think too, like, so this is kind of the return to normal for her, which is what she's wanted for a long time. Like she comes to this, she's been uncomfortable this whole time with Elias's friends. Like she's just always like, when are your friends gonna leave? What, like she can't wait for the wolves to leave. She can't get used to it. And she's separated from Moraine, who she sees as like her future. She's gonna go be an Aes Sedai, and she's with Perrin, who she kind of sees as this stupid villager. And like she's had it rough. Like she's been starving at certain points. She's gone through all, like, been chased by monsters several times, and by Shadar Logoth's madness. And so she comes to this this fire, and look at this. There are people who eat regular meals, and they like their wagons are familiar at least, and they have beds and campfires and people smiling, and there's an attractive boy.
Yeah, totally.
Like I could imagine her like, no, I don't want to go hang out with your beast friends, Perrin. Like I'm gonna go hang out with this guy who wants to treat me nicely instead of telling me what to do all the time.
Which is interesting because so Egwene is not comfortable around the wolves when the wolves first get there. We now are headed to the traveling or meeting these traveling people, and Egwene, voices to Perrin that she doesn't trust them. She doesn't feel comfortable and is really hesitant to do this. And then this guy comes in and is being all charming, and she's like, "Yeah, sure, you want to go dance? I'll go dance."
Yeah, may as well.
Right? It's just it's I mean, when in Rome, it's just a big, I don't want to say a big swing, but it seems like a drastic from one end to the other, which
Right.
maybe it is all a reaction to how Perrin is acting.
I mean, she's like 16. I don't.
True.
I have nothing against 16-year-old girls whatsoever. I remember when I was of the age to find them more interesting, though. I just remember thinking that they were all over the place. Like you just can't quite. And that was part of me just being naive and not inexperienced. But other
Mhm.
parts, like I think that it's not just girls, though. I think everyone at that age is just kind of a mess a little bit.
I was gonna say I was a disaster at 16, so
Right. There are some that are pretty mature and stuff. And I'm sure all of them that are listening to this podcast are
Mhm.
the mature sort. Absolutely think that.
Right.
Believe that to the core of my being. But like all the rest of the 16-year-olds are just kind of a mess. So I mean, I absolutely was too. So, Egwene waffling from like paranoia to, oh hey, he's attractive, let's dance and just do this other
Right.
thing. I don't know, seems a little bit real to me, as
Yeah.
and frustrating too.
And frustrating. Yeah, so she goes off. What I actually really liked in this chapter as well,
Hmm.
after she goes off with Aram, Rain starts telling this story to Perrin about he ends up talking about Aiels and the
He
Aielmen.
does.
He tells
Hmm.
a story about the waste, um, and that Aielmen avoid the Tinkers, which is the traveling people. And he tells him about, I think he says it's 2 years ago, they encounter the maidens of the spear. Like they encounter these women. And only one woman from the Aiel, from the maidens of the spear, had survived, and there were just hundreds of dead Trollocs around her. And what I gathered from this and what he had, tells Perrin is that Trollocs don't like the wasteland. They don't enter it.
The Isle Waste, right?
The Aiel waste. So I just thought that was interesting that, there's hundreds of dead Trollocs around this one Aiel woman who had survived.
Hmm.
And that was it.
Right. Well, she crawled to their fires. Like
Yes.
she clearly, and the Aiel just kind of loathe the traveling people.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you'll actually get to explore that a little bit more. But for now, like they don't want anything to do with the traveling people for the most part. And so it shows the depth of her resolve. She tells them what she says, that Sightblinder is trying to like
Right.
blind the eye of the world, something like that.
It almost sounded like almost like a prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She said that that he wanted to, yeah, isn't it that the exact words, blind the eye of the world?
I think it's something very similar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which
Yeah.
is Interesting.
Which, and so Rain, the leader of the Tuathuan, is like, Elias, you're kind of wise in the ways of the world. Haha.
Yeah. Did it again.
But you know things that we can't know because of the places you've been, the people you've seen. Like, does this make any sense to you? And Elias is like, nah, bro, this is madness.
Makes zero sense. Do not care.
Right. But this is actually another instance of ta'veren, in fact.
Right. Okay. Because of Perrin.
Because yeah, he needed to hear it. Like, eventually this is important. He'll be able to share this knowledge later.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, because it seemed like a very random story to tell.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like interesting, but at the same time, you're like, okay, how is this important?
Yeah, it was just a story that, he's telling for the sake of telling it, like a campfire story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
then what? The chapter ends around there?
So after that, Egwene comes back and she is acting really weird. Perrin, I remember this, that Perrin made a note internally, because he's such an internal monologue type character, that she seemed to be upset and she was acting odd and she seemed concerned about something, but she told them that she's happy that she went and danced. And that's how the chapter ends.
Cool. So nothing's resolved, but they're in a place of safety, you might say.
They are in a place of safety. Wow. Well played.
That's the title of episode 3, I believe, right?
Yes, that was
of the show. Yeah, just
Good
making
job.
sure everyone understands just how incredibly whatever it is.
Yeah. Well played. So that's it. That's the end of the chapter.
If you brag about it, is it actually well played? That's the question.
No.
Yeah. So bummer. I was this close.
You tried. Oh man. So who do you think the most annoying character is here? Because I feel like I can guess. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Let's guess each other's most annoying characters today.
Oh. I feel like, okay, so I know you said Matt was in the running.
Mm-hmm. I feel like mine should be fairly obvious, but let's see.
You almost always say Egwene.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm tempted, just for, patterns repeating, to say it's Egwene.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it might be Aram.
Is that your final answer?
I don't know. I feel like I need to use like the 50-50 call a friend lifeline or something.
Well, I will say that it is not Elias.
That doesn't help.
I know. I wasn't the intent wasn't to be helpful.
Okay, I'm gonna say it's Egwene.
Oh man, you chose poorly.
God. Damn it
Aram. Damn it all is right. Yeah, Aram, absolutely. I hate that guy.
Oh,
what a dick,
man.
And he's like grinning victoriously at Perrin, even though Perrin's not like trying to.
He's not trying
hit
at
on
all.
Her. Oh. But Aram's like, it's a contest. I hate him, man.
This is what I
Most
get.
Annoying character.
This is what I get for following patterns when you and I just had a discussion about following patterns.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The best of us don't follow the obvious patterns. So plus I'll so yeah, Egwene is a mess for sure, but I said it before, like in the last episode, that I don't have anything really against Egwene. She just happens to be circumstantially the worst, the most annoying. Like I'm not looking to frame her as the most annoying. She may end up, who knows, as my final vote is most annoying, but in this episode, she doesn't hold a candle to Aram.
Right. In this chapter.
I will guess that Matt is the most annoying to you.
Matt is very frustrating to me. I honestly can't pick between Matt and Aram.
That's fair.
It is like Aram. Matt is unbelievably frustrating, and Aram is just reeks of arrogance.
Arrogance.
Arrogance. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not an Aram fan.
Yeah, I also don't like him because he's one letter away from my name.
Yeah.
Just swap out that R for a D,
and then you would be the most annoying character in this chapter.
Right. I feel like there's a 50-50 chance that I might be the most annoying co-host in this episode. We don't know.
Wow. That's funny like how that works.
I feel like it's false, but I mean,
I don't.
It's possible. Yeah. Well, the fact that you said that means that it is false. So
no. I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, we should absolutely not put it up to a vote on who the most annoying co-host is.
No, don't give people ideas. Rude.
Well, at the end of the book, we'll vote one of our co-hosts off the island.
Oh man, there's 14 books and only 2 of us. Awkward.
I know. Don't give people hope.
Yeah, I can't pick. It's Matt or it's Aram. It's one of the two. I feel like I'm leaning towards Aram.
That's fair. I mean, he's the most we've discussed him the most recently too. So
yeah.
So your level of disgust is for him is a little bit more than Matt.
It's a little bit fresher.
Yeah. Having discussed him here, disgust is greater. So
nice word choice.
Or is it? All right, what's it gonna be though? I
gotta pick.
I mean, you can't pick Narg.
I think it's Aram. I honestly think it's Aram.
Good. I think you're right.
Okay. Aram it is. We can put it in our tracker.
Cool. So Matt would be second for you. And then who would be third? Yeah. Just out of curiosity. Ooh. Is there a third? There doesn't have to be. We're not tracking anyone but the first, but
right. So like, Matt would be second.
I guess the real question for me would be, would Egwene actually, do you think she's annoying enough to maybe make the discussion? Because you said a lot of negative things about her. I won't lie. Like you said more negative. I spent more time defending her this episode.
You did. Which is weird.
See, I don't have anything against her. I just think she's sometimes annoying. She's a 16-year-old girl.
You know, like not annoying. She's just irritating, which I guess is another word for annoying.
Yeah, the distinction for that irritates me. Or does it annoy me? Not sure.
I don't know. I just didn't like her attitude. She seemed so flippant.
She did.
And I did not enjoy it. But then Rand also was acting like a dummy too. So
yeah, though in some ways it wasn't his fault. But you're right, like irresponsible and frustrating to read about. Yes.
Yeah. But I would probably put Egwene higher on the annoying list than Rand.
All right.
Because I think Egwene is acting how she wants to act.
Cool. And who's your favorite? What was your favorite character this time?
Ooh. I really enjoyed Tom. Surprisingly, like Tom has really grown on me. I really enjoy his character. But I also love the chapters from Perrin's point of view. I love knowing his internal thought process. Like those are the chapters that we've discussed this a little bit where I'm like, okay, let's get back to a parent chapter.
Yeah, I would say my favorite for this one is probably Tom. Just because I love how parental he gets, like how he just picks it all up and he's like, all right, we're gonna do this. Like I'm gonna take care of you boys. Like I've made my decision and you're mine. Like you're my responsibility. We're gonna do this.
Yeah, he just does it. Like
yeah. Maybe we should add that to this segment, our favorite character.
All right, then I'm gonna have to pay attention to two people.
I'm sorry, that sounds rough for you.
It is
like a true challenge. Finally,
simple tasks. Yeah, so I guess that's it.
All right, the end.
That's it. That's all.
Yeah, so in a couple days we Americans, we non-Canadians will be celebrating Thanksgiving. And so I'm guessing that both of us, you and I, will both be available, but we're both traveling. You have a different reason to be traveling, and so we'll try to do our, I mean, it's too early to call it our usual reaction video, but our intent is to do a reaction video after each episode. We'll try to get that out. YouTube will probably just have to be delayed because editing video on the road is extremely difficult.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
And Sarah will be under less than awesome circumstances even to edit the audio. So just be grateful for what you get, folks.
It might, I mean, we're both traveling, like you said, so we're not using our usual setups. It's going to sound not the best.
It'll be
good.
It'll be fine, but like I won't have my fancy expensive mic.
Yeah, exactly. We're not gonna have our mics.
Yeah, but I also think that our reaction video is going to be significantly shorter this time because we'll have one episode to cover.
I also agree with that. So,
or maybe there'll be just so much to talk about and it'll be like 7 hours.
It's gonna be a long night.
I just made myself cringe super hard. internally.
Yeah, so that's it. That's what to expect. That's it. That's all. Any final words?
That's all, folks. No, guys, we would really appreciate, though, just one more reminder. If you're enjoying the show, we would love it if you hung out with us on Discord. Leave us those good reviews on iTunes and on Podbean. Those mean a lot. Follow us on Podbean. We're actually getting close to the top rung of followers, which is the place that we start getting more noticeability. Gosh, I'm struggling with words tonight.
That's fine. It's late.
I feel like I have my moments of like doing really well, and then other moments of like, is English his first language, or
everything's fine.
Everything, yeah, said the dog. But we we really appreciate it. We've got to try to trick the algorithm because everyone else is. I've noticed that the number of podcasts for Wheel of Time has jumped up in Podbean itself from 45 to 55, something like that. Or it's at least been like 10 since we started. So tons of people getting on it.
I want to look now. When we started, it was 44, 45. Yeah, it's at 55.
Yeah, so we've got to stay ahead, folks. And if we can edge out, the thing is, we're not even hurting anyone. There's a few podcasts that are just kind of defunct now, but they have enough followers that they're still on the top of the board. So if you could just hit that follow button, all you have to do is sign into Google. That's actually, you were saying,
you don't even
Sarah,
have to
do that.
No, you can just, you could, as long as you do it through Podbean, like through the app, you don't even need to create an account.
Yep. So, and creating an account is as easy as signing in through Google. So super easy. And, if you guys can get us to the top, we would appreciate it because we're trying to make a run of it. We have had over 100 downloads on our reaction video. So hopefully, and that doesn't include YouTube. So
It doesn't include, I don't think it includes iTunes.
Oh,
Maybe it does.
I have no idea.
I might be lying to you.
Please don't.
Awkward.
It is. And one other thing we didn't say before, guys, if you could hit that sub button on YouTube as well, if you want to go to the YouTube channel, just hitting sub helps with the algorithm. We're getting some views, not many, which is fine. We're not trying to grow that channel a ton right now, but having some passive subs, having those passive subs like accumulate over time would be really nice, so that when we start actually doing serious YouTube content, which is a very possible thing that it could happen, then we'll actually have a good base to start with, and the algorithm will have someone to send things to.
All of the things,
everything.
All well said. That's what I was trying to get out.
Yeah.
Sweet.
All good. Let's just call it good then.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's all. We've done everything. And I guess you'll probably hear from us in 2 days. Maybe. If you're not in a turkey coma.
Yeah. If you have the will.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out. With that being said, Adam, listeners, everybody, thanks so much for joining, and may you always find water and shade.